When you solve a system of inequalities, you graph each inequality, and then where the graphs overlap, that is the solution. So let's start off by graphing this purple one here. The way I like to graph is to begin at the y-intercept. So in other words, I'm going to, whoops, my bad. I'm going to begin at 4. So I'm going to come over here, and at 4 on the y-axis, I'm going to put a dot there. Okay, and then I want to move from that point, and the move comes from your slope. So I'm going to grab the slope here. And then if I want to move, I need this to be a fraction, so I'm going to put -3 over 1. And so I'm going to come right here, and I need to rise -3, so down 1, 2, 3, run +1, so run +1, and now I have another point, so I'm ready to draw a line. And this specific line is going to need to be a dashed line because the inequality does not have an underline. So if it doesn't have an underline, it's dashed, and if it does have an underline, then it's solid. Okay, then next I'm going to decide if I should shade below it or above it. So deciding where I want to shade, I pick any number, or excuse me, any point that is clearly above or below the line, and see if it makes the inequality true. So I'm going to go with 0, 0, but you could pick any point you'd like. Go back to my original inequality. Y is less than -3x plus 4, and then we're going to substitute in 0 for the x and 0 for the y. If I simplify that, -3 times 0 is 0 plus 4 is 4. So I get 0 is less than 4, which is true. And so since 0, 0 makes it true, then when I shade, I need to make sure I include the point 0, 0. So I'm going to shade this section right here. Okay, so I've shaded that section. Now I need to graph this red one here. So to graph, I'm going to once again start off with where I should begin, which is on the y-axis at -1. So let's grab a point here and go to -1 on the y-axis. Then from that point, I'm going to move. And when you move, you're using the slope. Oops. Oh, darn it. Okay, I'm going to use the slope here. Now, when you have a negative fraction, you need to either put the negative with the top or the bottom. It doesn't matter which one you decide to go with. I'm going to just put it with the top for no particular reason. So I'm going to rise -1, run 3. So rise -1, down 1, run 3, right 1, 2, 3. And now I'm ready to draw my line. And this line is going to be a solid line because it's underlined. Then lastly, I need to figure out where I should shade. Should I shade above or below? So I'm going to do the same thing. I need to test a point. So I'm going to test 0, 0 and see if it makes the original true. So y is greater than or equal to -1/3 times x minus 1. I'm going to replace the y with 0 and the x with 0. -1/3 times 0 is 0, minus 1 is -1. and 0 is bigger than or equal to -1. So since 0, 0 makes this true, 0, 0 should be a part of the shading. If this would have been false, then 0, 0 should not be a part of the shading, and I'd shade below. But since it's true, 0, 0 is a part of my shading, so I'm going to shade above. Okay. And then my final shading, it's wherever the two overlap. So these two end up overlapping in here. And so my final answer is the shading in between, because the part, the light purple is what makes this one true. The red is what makes this one true. So to solve a system of equations, you need points that make both true. So the shading here where they overlap, that's where they're both true, and that's your final answer.